What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about F1 2018. There is another developer diary that has come out today. Much like the first one, if you haven't seen it already, it came out a couple of weeks ago while I was away, so unfortunately I wasn't able to cover that. But basically, Lee Mather, the creative director of Codemasters, did a developer diary, something that Codemasters did back on F1 2010, and it was a really great feature that they did on the build-up to their games to really build up hype. They're doing it again, and I thought I'd just cover off what happened in the last one before I get stuck into the new one, which is again talking about career mode. But in the first one, they talked about time-pressured interviews, sportsmanship versus showmanship. There's now contract negotiations now in F1 2018. You can essentially enter into negotiations with any team within the sport, so you can almost kind of direct where you want to go in your career mode path. There are now press interview new locations, so Claire, who is the kind of press interviewer you're going to be meeting over the course of your career mode, she'll be asking you a lot of questions, giving you time-pressured interviews. Some in new locations, like I said, like in the paddock, in the weighbridge, in your team garages, and just gives you a better overall feeling over what's happening. You can now also choose your own rival in career mode, so it's no longer assigned to you based on where you're standing in the championship. Now you can pick Sebastian Vettel as your rival if you're driving for a sale, but if you want to, if you beat Vettel, you'll get amazing rewards, but if you don't achieve or beat your rival, then you look pretty silly. And finally, we have better race intros. The commentators will talk about previous results that have happened over the course of the season, just build up the story in a better way leading up to the start of a Grand Prix. So overall, trying to enhance the experience we're having while doing a career mode series. So that's everything from the first kind of developer diary. If you want to look at it in depth, then I recommend you go check out the original video on the F1 Codemasters YouTube channel. I'll leave a link to the video if you want to see it. Now we're going to talk about number 2. This is the second developer diary. I'm going to play the original clip now, and then I'm going to go into greater detail about what Lee Mather has said. So without further ado, let's get stuck in.
2017 had a huge R&D system, and during the process of developing that, we took on a lot of advice from the community who were playing the game for us early, and there were certain things that we thought would be really good to bring into 2018. So probably first and foremost, we wanted more players to experience more of the R&D system to actually be able to progress their development at a quicker rate. So we've made significant changes to the pricing structure. We've also changed the way that we present it to the player, so there's now a fog of war around it, so that you don't quite understand where your development's going, you don't know where the big wins are going to be. This year we've added ERS to the cars, and that's another area of the car that the player can also look to upgrade. And with multiple components building an ERS system in a Formula 1 car, again it adds even more variation to the things that the player must consider. To any Formula 1 fan, it's very clear which teams have got strengths and weaknesses in which areas, and that's something that we showcase quite heavily in the vehicle handling in the game, and we wanted to do something similar with the R&D tree this year. So each team now has a bespoke R&D tree which focuses on the areas that those teams may be lacking just a little bit. Something that we've brought in this year is it's something that's very inspired by what happens in the sport, and that's a rule change. Regularly in Formula 1, so every sort of 4 or 5 years, there's a significant rule change, and the teams have to readdress how they build their cars and change things quite significantly. And that's something we wanted the player to experience, with obviously the key gameplay mechanic from that being, you start the next season, first race at Melbourne, you don't know where the other teams are going to be. And that's amazing to see that reset in the performance. And the way this will work in the game will be, partway through the season, there'll be a point where we will determine whether there's going to be a rule change. Your R&D guy will speak to you about it, and at this point you need to start determining which areas of the development you want to conserve.
Listen up, everyone. They've announced that technical regulations are changing for next season. There's a risk a lot of our hard work could be undone if we're not careful.
I may have spent a fortune on my wings, and I think next season I'm worried that that reset might impact on my wings. So rather than losing all of that hard work, I can start spending credits on protecting the work we've done. So it's essentially future-proofing upgrades that you've made for the following season. The AI have to work in exactly the same way. So each of the teams will be going through exactly the same thought process as the player. Do I spend money on upgrading the car as quickly as possible? Do I look at saving some credits just in case there's a rule reset and I want to conserve my R&D? And that's what every season we'll see a huge change in the orders. We were only testing this the other day to see a team that was at the top start the next season mid-table. And it's really cool to be able to see that. It makes every season unique, and it really does drive you to want to do season after season.
So that is the details regarding F1 2018's career mode. Some pretty huge news just from that one developer diary right here today. Rule changes in F1 2018. Some of the features that us as the community testers from F1 2017 and even 2016 to some degree are starting to come to fruition now. I know Arav was a big advocate for spicing up the kind of car performance order, and I was as well. There was no real satisfaction in racing in a career mode where every single team was the same in terms of, you know, top to bottom every single season, no matter how much you would do development. Now, every year, maybe 2 years, it is random. There's like some kind of probability behind it. At the end of the season or halfway through the season, like Lee Mather said, you'll get a notification about a rule change incoming. Now, basically, this is a reset essentially on one area of development. Now, this could be aerodynamics, it could be engine, it could be ERS, which is a new area where you can delve into development now, which is really awesome. Or it could be in the chassis itself, weight reduction, that kind of thing. So essentially, you could potentially lose all of your progress in one go at the start of a new season. So now it's down to you if you want to protect an area that you've been working on for so long. Like, for example, in my McLaren Honda career mode last year, I was focusing all of my development on the engine, and if, say, there was a reset of the, you know, engine side of things, and I just made myself like the best, you know, engine in the sport, like, that'd be devastating. That would ruin my entire career mode. Now we can essentially protect that area and make sure it gets left unchanged. Now there's a bit of a balancing act to see how this goes, because you essentially now have to spend resource points to save that area, which, you know, could be going towards other areas to improve yourself. So it's really going to be random as to whether you're going to gain or even lose quite a considerable amount of performance season on season. I don't know what the best kind of strategy is to go at this stage, but it's exciting nonetheless to see that the order will change definitely every 1 or 2 seasons, which for me is absolutely huge. But the first detail I got out of this actually is the development path now is it's a little bit more ambiguous now on F1 2018. Previously, you could see the whole spiderweb and see where all of the major and ultimate upgrades would lie on the development tree. Now you can't really see where you're going, so you're kind of like advancing into the dark. Literally, from that screenshot, you can see right there, you don't know where those bigger upgrades are coming, so you think you might be going the right way in terms of getting to those bigger upgrades, but you could be just going down a narrow road where you could be going down to a dead end, essentially. So it makes it a little bit more ambiguous, makes it a little harder to get to those big pots of gold, shall we say, in those major upgrades, which again comes down to the fact of making the game that much more difficult, which is something that, you know, I've been harping on about for F1 2017. It was a huge factor as to why I lost interest after only a couple of seasons. I just felt like by the time I got to a reasonable level in the career mode, the game was just far too easy for me. It was very easy to exploit the AI. There were many mechanical failures. My teammate was not getting upgrades as well. The upgrades were not affecting his car as much as it was affecting mine, and that was a huge factor as to why I stopped or lost interest after only 3 or 4 seasons. So hopefully we can hear a little bit more about some of the more, I don't know, game mechanics in future developer diaries. I'd like to hear a lot more about some AI improvements. Are they going to be more racy now? Have they fixed the fundamental flaw of F1 2017 where teammates were not getting upgrades as well as what the player was? We now know that the order is now going to be shaken up after 1 or 2 seasons, so that's going to do a world of good for my, you know, longevity of playing this game. But I really want to know if the AI are going to be more racy. Is it going to be more satisfying to drive in offline game modes? That's something that I'm really, really looking forward to in future episodes, hopefully, of this mini-series of F1 2018 Developer Diaries. But guys, that's been it for today. Not as many details coming out of this one. Of course, this one was just mainly focused on the development side, the rule changes, and also development path, and how you kind of have to forge your own path and take a stab in the dark, essentially. F1 2018, don't make headlines. Take a stab in the dark with your upgrades. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. It does look very, very promising, I'm not going to lie. It's shaping up to be potentially the best ever career mode experience we've ever had by the Codemasters franchise. There's going to be more cutscenes like you're seeing on screen right now. It looks awesome. It looks bloody awesome. It looks like it's going to be a really immersive experience, and I can't wait to get stuck into it with my career mode in just a few weeks' time. Thank you so much for watching. Smash a like button on this video if you could. That'd really help me out. And I'll continue to make F1 2018 news videos as soon as they become available. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'll see you next time.